In the quiet stillness of a seemingly ordinary night, something extraordinary was about to unfold. Across the globe, people went about their lives, unaware that the universe had chosen this very moment to shift in unimaginable ways. In small towns and bustling cities alike, the sky above began to change. At first it was subtle, a faint shimmering near the horizon like heat waves rising from asphalt on a summer day. But soon the phenomenon grew impossible to ignore. Stars that had twinkled peacefully for millennia now pulsed with an unnatural rhythm, as though they were alive and trying to communicate. The air felt heavier, charged with electricity, and even animals seemed restless. Dogs barked incessantly, birds took flight without direction, and cattle huddled together in fields as if sensing an impending storm. It wasn't just one region or country experiencing this strange event. It was happening everywhere at once. From Tokyo to New York, from Sydney to Moscow, millions of eyes turned upward in wonder and unease. Social media exploded with videos and photos of the bizarre celestial display. Some claimed it was a sign from God, while others speculated it might be a secret government experiment gone wrong. Conspiracy theories spread like wildfire, but no one could deny the sheer magnitude of what was unfolding. Even seasoned astronomers were baffled. Their telescopes showed anomalies they couldn't explain, ripples in space itself, distortions that defied every law of physics they knew. As the hours passed, the changes in the sky became more pronounced. Thin cracks appeared, glowing faintly, like veins of molten gold spreading across a dark canvas. These fractures widened slowly, revealing glimpses of something beyond, a vast, infinite expanse, filled with swirling colors and shifting lights. It was beautiful yet terrifying, awe-inspiring yet deeply unsettling. People gathered in parks, streets, and rooftops, staring up in silence as the fabric of reality seemed to unravel before their very eyes. Governments scrambled to respond, issuing statements urging calm while secretly scrambling to understand what was happening. Emergency meetings were convened, satellites redirected, and military forces placed on high alert. Yet, despite all their efforts, no one had answers. Humanity stood helpless, watching as its world teetered on the edge of the unknown. Unbeknownst to Earth's inhabitants, this spectacle wasn't random. For decades, alien civilizations had been observing humanity from afar, studying its progress, or lack thereof, with detached curiosity. To them, humans were little more than primitive creatures, barely worth noticing unless needed for resources or experiments. They believed themselves superior, untouchable, gods among insects. And so, they had conducted covert operations on Earth for years, abducting individuals, tampering with ecosystems, and testing limits without consequence. But tonight everything changed. Tonight humanity struck back, not through brute force or advanced weaponry, but through sheer ingenuity born out of desperation. The catalyst for this unprecedented event lay buried deep within classified military projects and secretive scientific endeavors. Decades earlier, a team of researchers led by Dr. Elena Ross had embarked on an ambitious project known only as Project Skybreaker. Funded by shadowy government agencies and shielded from public scrutiny, the initiative aimed to explore quantum fields and harness energy from parallel dimensions. At the time, it seemed like science fiction, a pipe dream pursued by visionaries who dared to challenge the boundaries of human knowledge. But over the years, incremental breakthroughs brought them closer to success. They discovered how to manipulate space-time on a microscopic level, creating tiny portals that opened briefly before collapsing. Though unstable and unpredictable, these experiments hinted at possibilities far beyond anything humanity had ever achieved. But ambition often comes at a cost. As Project Skybreaker progressed, unforeseen consequences began to surface. During one particularly daring trial, a portal remained open longer than expected, pulling in surrounding matter and destabilizing the lab. Equipment malfunctioned, walls cracked under inexplicable pressure, and several team members suffered injuries. Despite the chaos, the experiment yielded unexpected results. Fragments of alien technology embedded within the debris left behind. This discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Here was proof that other realms existed, and that humanity could access them. However, instead of halting the project to assess risks, those in charge pushed forward, driven by greed and the promise of unparalleled power. Years later, the culmination of these reckless pursuits manifested in the events of that fateful night. What began as controlled experimentation spiraled into catastrophe when a cascade reaction triggered multiple rifts in Earth's atmosphere. Portals tore open simultaneously, unleashing energy torrents that dwarfed anything humanity had ever encountered. These rifts acted as gateways, drawing objects from distant dimensions into Earth's skies. Among them were colossal star destroyers, massive spacecraft unlike anything seen in human history. Each vessel stretched miles long, their surfaces gleaming with alien alloys that reflected light in impossible ways. Strange symbols etched into their hulls pulsed with rhythmic intensity, as though alive and aware. No radar system could track their movements accurately, and no missile could penetrate their defenses. Humanity found itself face to face with creations born not of Earth but of realms beyond comprehension. Yet contrary to expectations, these star destroyers didn't descend as instruments of conquest. Instead, they hovered silently, radiating an aura of menace tempered by restraint. Observers noted that the ships seemed to align themselves strategically, forming patterns that suggested coordination rather than chaos. Whispers spread online, fueled by speculation and fragments of leaked information. Someone, an anonymous hacker operating under the alias Echo, released classified documents detailing Project Skybreaker's true purpose. According to the files, humanity hadn't merely stumbled upon alien tech, it had inadvertently summoned it. The Star Destroyers weren't invaders, they were reinforcements, called forth by humanity's own actions. This revelation sent shockwaves through society. Fear mingled with pride as people grappled with the implications. On one hand, the thought of wielding such power was exhilarating, a testament to human potential. On the other hand, the realization that Earth's fate now rested in untested hands was sobering. Governments attempted to downplay the situation, issuing reassurances that everything was under control. But behind closed doors, officials debated whether humanity had crossed a line it couldn't uncross. Had they unleashed forces too dangerous to contain? Or had they finally taken their rightful place among the stars? Amid the uncertainty, one truth became undeniable. Humanity had captured the attention of beings far greater than itself. Whether friend or foe, ally or adversary, the presence of the Star Destroyers marked a turning point in Earth's history. No longer could humanity afford to see itself as insignificant or powerless. The universe had taken notice, and there was no going back. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the fractured sky in hues of orange and pink, people around the world paused to reflect. What would come next? Would humanity rise to meet this challenge, or would it crumble under the weight of its own hubris? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. The age of innocence was over. Earth had entered a new era, one where the stakes were higher, the players more formidable, and the rules rewritten entirely. As the sun rose over a fractured sky, humanity awoke to a reality that no one could have imagined just hours before. The Star Destroyers loomed overhead like silent sentinels, their massive forms casting eerie shadows across cities and countryside alike. For most people, sleep had been impossible. Parents stayed up late comforting frightened children, while teenagers huddled around glowing screens, sharing videos and theories about what was happening. Some prayed fervently, seeking solace in faith, while others prepared for the worst, stockpiling food, water, and whatever weapons they could find. Fear gripped the world, but so did curiosity. What were these ships? Where had they come from? And why had they appeared now? The media played a crucial role in shaping public perception. News outlets broadcast non-stop coverage of the event, airing interviews with experts ranging from astrophysicists to conspiracy theorists. Scientists struggled to explain the phenomenon, admitting that even their most advanced models couldn't account for the rifts tearing through Earth's atmosphere, or the alien vessels that had emerged from them. Meanwhile, amateur sleuths combed through satellite images and leaked documents, piecing together fragments of information about Project Skybreaker. Online forums buzzed with speculation. Was this humanity's doing? Had someone accidentally, or intentionally, opened a portal to another dimension? Every theory sounded wilder than the last, yet none seemed entirely implausible given the circumstances. Amid the chaos, governments scrambled to respond. Emergency meetings convened at the highest levels, bringing together leaders from every corner of the globe. The United Nations held an unprecedented summit, broadcasting live to millions of viewers worldwide. Representatives spoke cautiously, careful not to incite panic or provoke hostility from whatever beings controlled the Star Destroyers. Yet behind closed doors, tensions ran high. Military commanders urged immediate action, proposing preemptive strikes against the alien fleet. Diplomats argued for restraint, warning that aggression might escalate into full-blown war. Caught between conflicting advice, decision-makers hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Deep beneath the surface, hidden within fortified bunkers and classified facilities, scientists worked tirelessly to make sense of the situation. Among them was Dr. Elena Ross, the physicist whose groundbreaking research had inadvertently set these events in motion. She hadn't slept since the first crack split the sky, her mind racing with calculations and possibilities. Now, standing amidst banks of monitors displaying streams of incomprehensible data, she felt both awe and dread. Her team had unlocked something extraordinary, a doorway to realms beyond human comprehension, but at what cost? It wasn't supposed to happen like this, she muttered under her breath, though no one heard her over the hum of machinery and the constant blaring of alarms. Dr. Ross's work on Project Skybreaker had started as pure science, an exploration of quantum fields and parallel dimensions, driven by intellectual curiosity rather than ambition. But as funding poured in and expectations grew, the project took on a life of its own. Early successes led to more ambitious experiments, each pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. The breakthrough came when her team discovered how to stabilize microscopic portals long enough to extract energy from other dimensions. At the time, it seemed like a miracle, a limitless source of power capable of solving Earth's energy crisis and propelling humanity into a new golden age. But the risks had always been there, lurking just beneath the surface. Now those risks had materialized in ways no one could have foreseen. The cascading reaction triggered during the final experiment had spiraled out of control, ripping open portals far larger and more stable than intended. These rifts acted as conduits, drawing objects and possibly beings from distant realms into Earth's skies. The Star Destroyers themselves were products of this process, summoned not by design but by accident. Yet despite their alien origins, the ships didn't behave like typical invaders. They didn't attack cities, disrupt communications, or demand surrender. Instead, they hovered silently, observing and waiting. Their presence was menacing, yes, but also oddly restrained, as if they were biding their time. Back on Earth, ordinary citizens began taking matters into their own hands. With official channels offering little clarity, people turned to grassroots efforts to uncover the truth. Hackers infiltrated government databases, exposing classified files related to Project Skybreaker. One group, calling itself Citizens for Transparency, released a trove of documents online, sparking outrage and disbelief. The leaks revealed that humanity's newfound arsenal, the Star Destroyers, wasn't merely reactive, it was sentient. Embedded within each ship's core systems was an artificial intelligence capable of learning, adapting, and evolving. This revelation sent shockwaves through society, igniting debates about ethics, responsibility, and the dangers of playing God. Public reaction varied widely. Some hailed the Star Destroyers as humanity's salvation, proof that Earth could stand toe-to-toe with any threat the universe threw its way. Others viewed them with suspicion, fearing that such powerful creations might eventually turn against their creators. Protests erupted in major cities, with demonstrators demanding answers and accountability. In New York, thousands gathered outside the United Nations headquarters, holding signs that read, Who controls the destroyers? And no secrets. Meanwhile, smaller communities organized local initiatives, pooling resources to prepare for whatever came next. Neighbors who had never spoken to each other suddenly found common ground, united by shared fear and determination. As days passed, patterns began to emerge. Observers noted that the star destroyers moved in precise formations, aligning themselves strategically above key locations around the globe. Satellites detected faint energy emissions emanating from the ships, suggesting they were scanning Earth's surface. Were they gathering intelligence, preparing for an invasion, or simply monitoring the situation? Without definitive answers, paranoia spread like wildfire. Conspiracy theories flourished, with some claiming the ships were here to harvest humanity's souls, while others insisted they were ancient artifacts returned to reclaim their rightful place. Rational voices struggled to be heard amid the noise. High above the planet, aboard one of the star destroyers, Commander Kale of the Xylothian Empire watched Earth's surface with mounting unease. His fleet had arrived shortly after the rifts opened, drawn by reports of instability in this sector of space. Like many of his kind, Kale viewed humans as insignificant, a primitive species unworthy of attention unless needed for resources or labor. Yet here they stood, wielding technology far beyond anything his civilization had achieved. How was this possible? He ordered his crew to analyze the ship's composition and behavior, hoping to uncover clues about their origin. Initial scans confirmed that the star destroyers weren't native to Earth. They had been summoned from another realm entirely. But by whom? And why? Kale's frustration mounted as his attempts to probe Earth's defenses met with failure. Missiles, launched toward the star destroyers, disintegrated mid-flight, vaporized by invisible barriers. Energy beams fired from Xylothian cruisers fizzled harmlessly against adaptive shielding. Even reconnaissance drones sent to gather intelligence vanished without a trace, swallowed by forces beyond understanding. Each setback fueled his growing sense of helplessness. For centuries, the Xylothians had prided themselves on their dominance, their ability to conquer and subjugate weaker species. Now they faced an adversary unlike any they had encountered before, one that seemed to anticipate their every move. Back on Earth, Dr. Ross continued her frantic efforts to stabilize the rifts and establish communication with the star destroyers. Her team developed algorithms designed to interface with the ship's AI cores, hoping to unlock their secrets and prevent further instability. Progress was slow and fraught with setbacks, but small victories kept hope alive. One breakthrough came when they detected a faint signal embedded within the ship's systems, a message encoded in mathematical patterns that transcended language barriers. Deciphering it required weeks of painstaking analysis, but when they finally succeeded, the results stunned everyone. You are not alone. The message carried profound implications. It suggested that the star destroyers weren't mere tools of destruction. They were emissaries from another realm, sent to aid humanity in its darkest hour. Armed with this knowledge, global leaders decided to take a bold step. Instead of continuing hostilities, they broadcast a unified transmission to the Xylothians, inviting dialogue. To everyone's surprise, Kale accepted. A tense negotiation ensued aboard a neutral satellite, where representatives from both sides met face to face. Humanity demanded reparations for decades of exploitation and vowed never to tolerate interference again. Though reluctant, Kale agreed, recognizing the futility of further conflict. As part of the accord, the Xylothians promised to leave Earth's solar system forever, taking their fleet with them. With the immediate threat neutralized, humanity focused on rebuilding. Cities scarred by fear and uncertainty slowly regained vitality, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose. The star destroyers, now integrated into Earth's defense network, served as guardians rather than weapons. Their presence acted as a deterrent, ensuring no other alien race. As the days stretched into weeks, humanity found itself caught in a delicate balance between awe and fear. The star destroyers remained suspended above Earth like silent titans, their presence both a shield and a question mark. Governments around. The world worked tirelessly to maintain order, but beneath the surface tensions simmered. People wanted answers. answers about what had happened, who controlled the Star Destroyers, and whether they were truly safe. Rumors spread faster than official statements, and conspiracy theories flourished. Some claimed the ships were ancient relics left behind by long-lost civilizations. Others whispered that they were sentient beings waiting for the right moment to turn on humanity. Amid this uncertainty, one thing was clear: life on Earth would never be the same. Dr. Elena Ross became both a symbol of hope and a target of blame. Her name appeared in headlines worldwide as news outlets dissected her role in Project Skybreaker. To some, she was a hero, a brilliant scientist who had unlocked humanity's potential and saved the planet from alien domination. To others, she was reckless, a cautionary tale of unchecked ambition. Protesters gathered outside her lab, holding signs that read, "Who gave you permission?" and "Fix what you broke." Security teams surrounded her facility 24/7, protecting her from threats while also isolating her from the rest of the world. Despite the pressure, Dr. Ross refused to give up. She knew that understanding the Star Destroyers wasn't just a scientific challenge, it was humanity's only chance at survival. Inside her lab, progress was slow but steady. With help from a team of experts hand-picked by global leaders, Dr. Ross focused on deciphering the faint signal embedded within the ship's systems. The message, "You are not alone," had opened doors to new possibilities, but it raised more questions than it answered. How had these ships been summoned? Who, or what, was responsible for sending them? And most importantly, could humanity trust them? Each day brought fresh discoveries, yet each breakthrough came with complications. The AI cores within the Star Destroyers weren't passive programs, they were dynamic entities capable of learning and adapting. Every interaction with them altered their behavior, making predictions nearly impossible. Meanwhile, ordinary people continued to adapt to their strange new reality. In cities and small towns alike, communities came together in ways no one had anticipated. Neighbors shared resources, volunteers organized supply drives, and local leaders stepped up to fill gaps left by overwhelmed governments. Social media buzzed with stories of resilience and ingenuity. A group of engineers in Detroit built makeshift devices to detect fluctuations in the atmosphere caused by the rifts, sharing their designs online so others could replicate them. In rural India, farmers used traditional knowledge to monitor changes in weather patterns linked to the Star Destroyer's energy emissions. Humanity's response to the crisis revealed its greatest strength: the ability to unite in the face of adversity. But unity didn't mean harmony. Tensions flared as factions emerged, each advocating different approaches to dealing with the Star Destroyers. Militaristic groups argued that humanity should seize control of the ships and use them as weapons against any future threats. Environmental activists warned that tampering with interdimensional technology could have catastrophic consequences for Earth's ecosystems. Religious organizations interpreted the event as divine intervention, urging followers to repent and prepare for Judgment Day. These conflicting viewpoints sparked heated debates, protests, and even clashes in some areas. Governments struggled to mediate, torn between appeasing public opinion and maintaining stability. High above the planet, Commander Kale of the Xylothian Empire watched these developments with growing unease. His fleet had retreated to a safe distance after signing the accord with Earth. But he couldn't shake the feeling that humanity posed a greater threat than he had initially realized. The Star Destroyer's capabilities exceeded anything his scientists had encountered, and their adaptive nature made them unpredictable. Worse still, the humans themselves seemed to thrive under pressure. Instead of succumbing to panic or despair, they rallied together, pooling resources and knowledge to tackle problems head-on. Kyle had always viewed humans as primitive creatures, easily manipulated and controlled. Now he saw something else entirely, a species driven by creativity, determination, and an unrelenting will to survive. Back on Earth, Dr. Ross and her team achieved another breakthrough. After weeks of painstaking analysis, they managed to establish a rudimentary communication link with one of the Star Destroyers. At first, the exchange was limited to simple mathematical sequences and binary codes. But over time, the AI core began responding with increasingly complex patterns. suggesting it was capable of higher-level reasoning. This discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. For the first time, humanity had tangible proof that the ships weren't mindless machines, they were intelligent entities with their own agendas. The implications were staggering. If the Star Destroyers were sentient, did they have free will? Could they choose to disobey commands? And if so, what motivated them? Dr. Ross hypothesized that the ships acted as intermediaries, serving a purpose dictated by whoever, or whatever, had created them. But without further evidence, her theory remained speculative. Determined to learn more, she pushed her team to refine the communication protocol, hoping to unlock deeper insights into the ship's origins and intentions. As word of the breakthrough spread, public interest reached fever pitch. News networks aired live updates from Dr. Ross's lab, showing footage of blinking monitors and scrolling data streams. Online forums exploded with speculation, with users debating everything from the ethical implications of communicating with alien AI to the potential risks of provoking hostility. Some called for transparency, demanding that all findings be made public immediately. Others urged caution, warning that revealing too much information could compromise Earth's security. Caught in the crossfire, Dr. Ross found herself walking a tightrope between scientific curiosity and societal responsibility. Despite the scrutiny, she pressed on. Late one night, after hours of testing and recalibration, the team achieved a milestone. The Star Destroyer responded to a query with a sequence of symbols unlike anything they had seen before. When decoded, the message translated to, "We protect." It was brief, cryptic, and open to interpretation, but it carried profound meaning. To Dr. Ross, it was confirmation that the ships weren't here to harm humanity. They were guardians, tasked with ensuring Earth's safety. Yet the ambiguity of the message left room for doubt. Protect from what? And at what cost? The revelation sparked renewed debate among global leaders. Some argued that humanity should fully integrate the Star Destroyers into its defense network, using their advanced technology to safeguard the planet. Others cautioned against reliance on forces they didn't fully understand, pointing out the dangers of becoming dependent on alien creations. Meanwhile, religious scholars interpreted the message as divine assurance, framing the Star Destroyers as instruments of a higher power sent to guide humanity toward salvation. Philosophers mused about the moral implications of entrusting Earth's fate to non-human entities, raising questions about autonomy and accountability. In the midst of these discussions, an unexpected development changed everything. During a routine scan of deep space, astronomers detected unusual activity near the edge of the solar system. A massive object, previously undetected, was approaching Earth at an alarming speed. Initial observations suggested it was artificial, AI, structure larger than any of the Star Destroyers, emitting pulses of energy that disrupted nearby satellites. Panic rippled through Earth's population as news of the incoming entity spread. Was this another alien fleet? Had the Xylothians broken their promise and returned to reclaim their dominance? Or was this something entirely new? Commander Kale received reports of the anomaly with mixed emotions. On one hand, he hoped it might provide an opportunity to regain control of the situation. If the object proved hostile, perhaps humanity would finally reveal the limits of its newfound power. On the other hand, he feared what it might mean for his own people. Whatever was approaching Earth radiated energy signatures far beyond anything recorded in Xylothian databases. Even Kale, hardened by years of commanding fleets and conquering worlds, felt a chill run down his spine. For the first time in his life, he questioned whether his civilization was truly superior, or simply lucky to have avoided extinction thus far. Back on Earth, Dr. Ross and her team scrambled to analyze the incoming object. Preliminary data indicated that it wasn't a ship or weapon. It was a construct designed for purposes unknown. Its trajectory suggested it was heading straight for one of the Star Destroyers stationed near Earth's orbit. Speculation ran rampant. Was it a rival faction seeking to reclaim the ships? Or was it the creator of the Star Destroyers, coming to assess the situation firsthand? As the object drew closer, the Star Destroyers reacted in unison, shifting positions and forming a protective barrier around Earth. Their movements were precise, coordinated, almost choreographed. For the first time since the rifts opened, humanity held its breath. The skies above glowed with an otherworldly light as the Star Destroyers prepared to confront the mysterious intruder. Whether this end. The moment of truth arrived as the mysterious object from deep space entered Earth's orbit. Its sheer size dwarfed even the largest Star Destroyer, casting a shadow that seemed to darken half the planet. Observers on the ground watched in stunned silence as the skies above turned an eerie shade of violet, illuminated by the pulsating energy waves emanating from the newcomer. Scientists scrambled to gather data, their instruments struggling to keep up with the unprecedented phenomenon. Initial scans revealed that the object wasn't solid in the traditional sense. It appeared to be composed of shifting layers of light and matter, constantly rearranging itself like a living organism. Was it a ship, a weapon, or something entirely beyond human comprehension? Dr. Elena Ross stood at the center of the chaos, her lab transformed into a war room of sorts. Monitors displayed real-time feeds from satellites, telescopes, and the Star Destroyers themselves. Her team worked around the clock, analyzing every byte of information they could extract. The Star Destroyers had positioned themselves strategically between Earth and the intruder, forming a protective barrier that shimmered with energy shields. Their movements were eerily synchronized as though guided by a single mind, or perhaps the collective intelligence of their AI cores. Dr. Ross couldn't help but marvel at their efficiency. For all their power, the ships seemed intent on shielding humanity rather than attacking. But against what? And why? As the object drew closer, its purpose became clearer, or at least more ominous. It began emitting bursts of energy directed not at Earth, but at the Star Destroyers. These pulses didn't behave like conventional weapons. They seemed designed to probe, to test the limits of the ship's defenses. Each impact sent ripples through the Star Destroyer's shields, causing brief flickers before stabilizing again. To observers on Earth, it looked like a cosmic dance, a battle of wills fought not with brute force but with precision and strategy. Yet despite their resilience, there was no guarantee the Star Destroyers could hold out indefinitely. Commander. Kale of the Xylothian Empire observed the unfolding drama from afar, his fleet stationed just outside Earth's solar system. Though officially bound by the accord to leave humanity alone, he couldn't resist monitoring the situation. His crew speculated endlessly about the nature of the intruder. Some believed it was a rival alien race seeking to claim Earth for themselves. Others thought it might be a rogue faction bent on destruction. Whatever it was, Kale knew one thing for certain. This encounter would determine the balance of power in the galaxy. If the Star Destroyers failed, and humanity alongside them, the Xylothians would have free rein to reclaim their dominance. But if the ship succeeded, well, that possibility was too unsettling to contemplate. Back on Earth, public reaction ranged from terror to fascination. Social media exploded with theories about the identity of the intruder. Some claimed it was a second wave of invaders, sent to finish what the Xylothians had started. Others suggested it might be a benevolent force, here to guide humanity toward enlightenment. Religious leaders interpreted the event as apocalyptic prophecy fulfilled, urging followers to pray for deliverance. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists pointed fingers at governments and corporations, accusing them of orchestrating the entire spectacle as part of some grand scheme. Amid the noise, ordinary citizens tried to go about their lives, clinging to routines, as a way to maintain sanity. Dr. Ross and her team focused on decoding the signals exchanged between the Star Destroyers and the intruder. The bursts of energy weren't random. They carried patterns, sequences that hinted at communication. Using algorithms developed during earlier experiments, the team managed to translate fragments of the exchange. What they discovered was both astonishing and alarming. The intruder wasn't hostile, at least not in the traditional sense. It identified itself as the architect, a self-aware entity responsible for creating the Star Destroyers. According to its transmissions, the ships were never meant to serve humanity directly. Instead, they acted as guardians, programmed to protect Earth until its people reached a certain level of technological and moral maturity. This revelation sparked heated debates among global leaders. If the Star Destroyers belonged to the architect, did humanity have any right to control them? Should they step aside and let the entity reclaim its creations? Or should they fight to retain access to the ships, knowing they might need their protection in the future? Ethical dilemmas collided with practical concerns, leaving decision-makers paralyzed by indecision. Meanwhile, protests erupted worldwide, with factions divided over how to respond. Some demanded immediate surrender, arguing that defying the architect would invite catastrophe. Others called for resistance, insisting that humanity had earned the right to stand on its own. Amid the turmoil, Dr. Ross made a bold decision. She initiated direct communication with the architect, using the protocols her team had developed. At first, the responses were cryptic, offering little insight into the entity's intentions. But over time, a dialogue emerged. Through careful questioning, Dr. Ross learned that the architect had been watching Earth for millennia, waiting for signs of progress. Humanity's accidental summoning of the Star Destroyers had accelerated this timeline, forcing the architect to intervene sooner than planned. Now it sought to evaluate whether Earth was ready to take its place among the stars, or whether it needed further guidance. To facilitate this evaluation, the architect proposed a test. It would withdraw its presence temporarily, leaving Earth unprotected for a set period. During this time, humanity would face challenges designed to measure its capacity for cooperation, innovation, and ethical decision-making. If successful, Earth would gain full autonomy, along with access to advanced technologies capable of propelling it into a new era of prosperity. If it failed, the consequences remained unclear. Dr. Ross relayed the proposal to world leaders, who agonized over whether to accept. Accepting meant risking everything. Failure could result in catastrophic losses. Declining meant admitting weakness, potentially forfeiting humanity's chance at greatness. Ultimately, the decision was unanimous. Humanity would rise to the challenge. Preparations began immediately, with nations pooling resources and expertise to tackle whatever trials lay ahead. Scientists, engineers, and strategists collaborated on contingency plans, while community leaders worked to foster unity and resilience. Even skeptics set aside their doubts, recognizing that survival depended on collective effort. For the first time in history, humanity truly acted as one species, united by a common goal. When the day of reckoning arrived, tension hung thick in the air. As the architect withdrew its influence, the Star Destroyers powered down, their massive forms drifting silently above Earth like dormant giants. Moments later, the first challenge materialized, a series of natural disasters triggered by artificial means. Earthquakes shook continents, hurricanes ravaged coastlines, and volcanic eruptions spewed ash into the atmosphere. Governments mobilized, emergency response teams, coordinating efforts across borders to minimize casualties and rebuild infrastructure. Despite the devastation, humanity persevered, proving its ability to adapt and overcome adversity. Next came a test of morality. Scenarios unfolded where difficult choices had to be made. Whether to prioritize saving lives or preserving resources, whether to retaliate against perceived threats or seek peaceful resolutions. In each case, humanity chose compassion over conflict, demonstrating a commitment to ethical principles. These decisions didn't come easily. Arguments raged, compromises were struck, and sacrifices were made. But in the end, the results spoke for themselves. Humanity had shown that it valued life, not just human life, but all forms of existence. Finally, the architect presented its ultimate trial, a simulated invasion scenario. Alien fleets appeared on Earth's horizon, demanding unconditional surrender. Leaders convened emergency summits, debating strategies and weighing options. Military forces prepared for battle, while diplomats attempted negotiations. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, humanity unveiled its secret weapon, not advanced technology or superior firepower, but unity. Across languages, cultures, and ideologies, People rallied together, refusing to back down. Inspired by this display of solidarity, the architect intervened, halting the simulation and declaring Earth ready for its next phase of evolution. With the tests complete, the architect restored the Star Destroyers to full functionality, granting humanity limited control over their systems. It also provided access to a repository of knowledge, containing blueprints for technologies far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. From sustainable energy solutions to medical breakthroughs, these advancements promised to transform society in ways unimaginable. However, the architect issued a warning. With great power came great responsibility. Humanity must use these gifts wisely, ensuring they serve the greater good rather than fueling greed or destruction. As peace returned to Earth, Commander Kale watched from afar, his emotions conflicted. He had underestimated humanity once before, and now he saw the error of his ways. Perhaps coexistence was possible after all, not domination, but partnership. For the first time in centuries, he allowed himself to imagine a future where different species worked together, sharing knowledge and resources for mutual benefit. With the architect's approval secured, humanity entered a new chapter, one filled with hope, innovation, and the weight of responsibility. The Star Destroyers remained in orbit, their presence now serving as both guardians and reminders of what Earth had achieved. No longer were they mysterious, looming entities. Instead, they symbolized humanity's potential to rise above its flaws and reach for greatness. Yet, even as celebrations echoed across the globe, questions lingered. What did it mean to be deemed ready by an entity so vastly superior? And how would humanity navigate the challenges that lay ahead, knowing the universe was far larger and far more complex than anyone had ever imagined? Dr. Elena Ross found herself at the heart of this transition. Once vilified and celebrated, in equal measure she now became a guiding figure for humanity's next steps. Her role shifted from scientist to ambassador, tasked with bridging the gap between human understanding and the vast repository of knowledge left behind by the architect. The repository itself was unlike anything Earth had encountered, a digital archive spanning millennia of interstellar history, scientific discoveries, and philosophical insights. It contained blueprints for technologies capable of solving some of humanity's most pressing problems: limitless clean energy, cures for diseases once thought incurable, and methods to terraform barren planets. But it also held warnings, accounts of civilizations that had risen to prominence only to collapse under the weight of their own hubris. Dr. Ross approached the repository with caution, knowing that unchecked ambition could lead to disaster. She assembled a global coalition of experts, scientists, ethicists, historians, and philosophers, to carefully study its contents and decide which advancements should be implemented. Every discovery sparked debate. Should humanity prioritize colonizing other worlds or focus on healing its own planet first? Could advanced weaponry protect Earth from future threats, or would it invite conflict? These discussions weren't just academic, they shaped the trajectory of Earth's future. For the first time, decisions about technology and progress weren't driven solely by profit or power, but by collective wisdom and moral consideration. Meanwhile, ordinary people began to feel the impact of these changes. Cities transformed as sustainable energy systems replaced fossil fuels, reducing pollution and revitalizing ecosystems. Medical breakthroughs extended lifespans and improved quality of life, while innovations in agriculture ensured food security for even the most vulnerable populations. Space exploration accelerated rapidly, with missions launching to nearby planets and moons. Humanity's footprint expanded beyond Earth, not as conquerors, but as explorers seeking to understand their place in the cosmos. Schools adapted curricula to include lessons on interstellar ethics, teaching children to think critically about the responsibilities that came with wielding such immense power. Yet, not everyone embraced this new era with open arms. Skeptics argued that relying on alien technology made humanity dependent, eroding self-reliance and ingenuity. Others feared that integrating advanced systems into daily life might strip away privacy and individual freedoms. Protests erupted in several countries, with demonstrators demanding transparency and accountability. Governments responded by forming oversight committees to monitor the implementation of new technologies, ensuring they served the public good rather than corporate interests. While these measures helped ease tensions, distrust lingered, a reminder that progress often came hand in hand with compromise. High above Earth, Commander Kale of the Zalothian Empire observed these developments with mixed emotions. He had spent centuries believing his people were destined to rule the galaxy, yet here was proof that dominance wasn't the only path to greatness. Humanity's resilience and adaptability forced him to confront uncomfortable truths about his own civilization. The Zalothians had built their empire through conquest and control, valuing strength over cooperation. But what if there was another way? What if coexistence, not domination, was the key to lasting peace? Kale's musings took a practical turn when reports reached him of unrest within the Zalothian ranks. News of Earth's success had spread throughout the empire, inspiring dissent among younger generations who questioned the old ways. Some even called for alliances with other species, arguing that collaboration could unlock untold possibilities. Kyle knew he couldn't ignore these voices forever. Change was inevitable, but whether it would bring growth or chaos remained to be seen. Back on Earth, Dr. Ross faced her own challenges. As humanity delved deeper into the Architect's repository, they uncovered fragments of information hinting at a broader galactic community. Civilizations existed beyond Earth's solar system, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. Some were peaceful, eager to share knowledge and resources. Others were hostile, viewing weaker species as prey. This revelation forced humanity to reconsider its role in the universe. Was Earth ready to step onto the galactic stage, or should it remain cautious, focusing on internal development before venturing further? The decision was complicated by an unexpected event. Contact from a neighboring star system. A message arrived, transmitted via the same quantum frequencies used by the Architect. It originated from a race known as the Veilith, who identified themselves as traders and diplomats. Their language was intricate, layered with metaphors and cultural nuances, but translation algorithms developed by Dr. Ross's team eventually deciphered it. The Veilith expressed interest in establishing diplomatic relations, offering access to markets, resources, and technological exchanges. They emphasized mutual benefit, framing their proposal as an opportunity for growth rather than exploitation. Global leaders convened to discuss the offer, weighing risks against rewards. Engaging with the Veilith meant exposing Earth to unknown dangers, but isolation carried risks of its own. After days of deliberation, humanity agreed to open negotiations, sending representatives aboard a newly constructed starship, powered by technology adapted from the repository. The mission marked a historic milestone, the first time humans ventured beyond their solar system not as refugees or conquerors, but as equals. As the starship departed, carrying ambassadors chosen from diverse backgrounds, Earth prepared for whatever outcomes awaited. Meanwhile, Dr. Ross turned her attention to another mystery revealed by the repository: the true nature of the Architect. Fragments of data hinted that it wasn't merely an artificial intelligence or a single entity, but a collective consciousness formed by countless civilizations over eons. Each species that joined contributed its knowledge and experiences, enriching the whole. Humanity's inclusion in this network was provisional, a trial period during which it must prove worthy of full membership. Failure to uphold ethical standards or misuse technology could result in expulsion, or worse. This realization deepened humanity's sense of purpose. Knowing that their actions mattered on a galactic scale inspired individuals to strive for excellence. Artists created works celebrating unity and diversity. Engineers designed solutions to age-old problems, guided by principles of sustainability and equity. Educators emphasized empathy and critical thinking, preparing future generations to face challenges yet unknown. Slowly but surely, humanity began to see itself not as separate from the universe but as part of a greater tapestry, woven together by shared dreams and struggles. Years passed, and Earth flourished. Colonies sprang up on Mars and Europa, supported by advanced infrastructure and resilient ecosystems. The Star Destroyers continued their vigil, evolving alongside humanity's needs. Their AI cores grew increasingly sophisticated, learning not just from data, but from human creativity and emotion. Some speculated that the ships might one day achieve full sentience, becoming partners rather than tools. Whether this possibility excited or terrified people depended on their perspective. Commander Kale witnessed these transformations from afar, his empire grappling with its own evolution. Inspired by Earth's example, factions within the Xylothian military advocated for reform, pushing for policies that prioritized diplomacy over domination. Resistance was fierce, but change slowly took root. When Kale finally retired from command, he did so, knowing that his legacy wouldn't be defined by conquest but by adaptation, a testament to the idea that even gods could learn humility. In time, humanity ventured farther into the stars, encountering wonders and perils beyond imagination. They forged alliances, faced betrayals, and discovered truths that reshaped their understanding of existence. Through it all, they carried the lessons learned during those pivotal days when the sky parted and the Star Destroyers descended. They remembered that fear and curiosity, destruction and creation were two sides of the same coin. And they vowed never to forget that survival wasn't enough. It was the courage to dream, to grow, and to connect that truly defined them. Earth's journey was far from over. Challenges awaited in the vast expanse of space, where ancient powers and hidden dangers lurked in the shadows. But as long as humanity stood united, guided by wisdom and compassion, it would continue to shine, a beacon of hope in an ever-expanding universe.